Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports, following Memorial Day weekend as we get prepared to kick off the Eagles OTAs this week. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother? Back in the mix, John. One day off is enough to make me feel a little rusty.
Yeah, I'm rusty. Phase 3. Happy Phase 3 day. Hope everybody had a little bit of a rest and took some time to thank the people that deserve to be thanked so we can talk football every day. We're going to have some on-field action. Reporter's not going to be down there today, but, state-run media will have some stuff for you. So keep an eye on eagles.com. And all around the league, I think there's, 20 teams starting their on-field OTAs today. So all around the league, you're going to be seeing a lot of people on the field.
Yep, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. As you pointed out on Memorial Day, I heard something nice that I wanted to share with everybody. I went to a Memorial Day service yesterday in Cape May, and there was a veteran speaking, and he just said, people always say Happy Memorial Day, and that doesn't sit right with me.
I hate that. I don't. I never say that.
So he said to me, though, to the crowd, he said, let's say I hope everybody has a peaceful Memorial Day. And I thought that was much better. So I just wanted to share that with all the great people here on JAKIB Sports, on JAKIB Nation. Great to see our Birds 365 people back in the chat. We're getting closer to Eagles football, everybody. OTAs kicking off, John. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the salary cap a little bit. You mentioned they're on the field today, tomorrow, and Friday. Now, you guys are set to be in the room potentially tomorrow, but that's a little tentative at this point, John?
Not official yet. Yeah, most likely. Problem is it's going to rain, as it has been locally. Yeah. And there's 90 people, and if they have to go inside, and their bubble's not very big, so that could complicate things. But 90% certain we're going to be down there tomorrow for OTAs, and they only have to open up one of the cluster of 3, and that'll be next week as well. Eagles only have 2 sets of 3. They're only using 6. They could use 10. And then they have minicamp, 1-day minicamp. So, most likely tomorrow.
Most likely tomorrow. So that'll be Wednesday media availability. We'll see if Johnny Mac's out there with the umbrella in the rain. All right, out there. John, what are your top storylines coming into this thing, man? I think there's a lot of good stuff to watch, but what is John McMullen specifically focused on? I think when I think about it, I think edge rusher, I think corner, and I think safety as well. I think those are the 3 obvious ones, but edge rusher's obviously top of the list there. Is that you the same, or what are you thinking about as we go into OTAs here?
Well, I wrote about each position over at SI. Everybody can check out my first impressions. The problem, there's certain positions, running back, on offense, offensive line, defensive front, tougher to gauge until you get the pads on. So from them, I describe it as more of a 7-on-7 philosophy. So more concerned about, the skill position players, the quarterbacks, the cornerbacks, the secondary, a little bit linebackers in coverage. More of a 7-on-7 process because there are no pads. And the physical positions, for lack of a better term, not that you can't be a physical safety or something of that nature, but the places where you have to be physical, like A.J. Dillon, he's an interesting story because he missed last year with the stinger issues, and he's this big, powerful running back. Well, you're not going to be able to see his power until the pads come on. Last year, Saquon Barkley at OTAs, you can go back to it. Nobody was like, all right, can't see it at running back. Because you don't have that opportunity to show the physical aspect of the game. Same with the offensive line, same with the defensive front. So, one of my predictions was I think Azeez Ojulari is going to be a big story in the spring because of his athleticism and his movement skills. He's probably going to stand out. But again, the big test will come later with the pads. And, when Lane Johnson's got pads on, there's a big difference.
Azeez Ojulari is a different man on the field when Lane Johnson's got pads on. No doubt about it. Johnny Mac.
Everybody is. I'm not picking on Azeez. Everybody.
No, yes, it is everybody, including the top in the game. So no doubt about that. I'm looking forward to getting some football though today. And it'll be state-run media, but I am looking forward to seeing the guys and the team back on the field out there. John, one thing I want to talk about, and we already got some super chats about it, so we're going to have to hit on it. I'll read the super chat about it. Is the what the league is talking about when it comes to the salary. And now banning void years. The NFL likes the Eagles, though. So Brian being a little bit joking there, saying he thinks you're wrong, that the NFL hates the Philadelphia Eagles, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I've been around Philadelphia to understand the victim mentality. I wrote about this yesterday. One of the reasons people know about it is because I wrote about it, and really it stems from Jason Fitzpatrick of Over the Cap, who is on top of these things when it comes to the salary cap. Jason Fitzgerald, I always, not Fitzpatrick. For some reason, I always default to Fitzpatrick, but I digress. So anyway, Jason pointed out the explosion in voidable years. Eagles are credited with a lot of that because of their success. But if you look at it again from a more objective standpoint, not a pumper standpoint, 26 teams use voidable years now. The increased number from 2013, to give you the example, 8 teams use voidable years. The total voidable money on those 8 teams in 2013 was $40 million, just over $40 million. You fast forward to 2025, 26 teams are using them. The total voidable money in those years is over $2 billion, 2 with a B. So the point is, the vast majority of the league, the point is it's increasing salaries. So what do rich people do when salaries are increasing? They generally want to cut that off as quickly as possible. How do you do that? You close this loophole. So again, the victim mentality exists in Philadelphia. 26 teams use it. That's a lot. That's not just Philadelphia. But yeah, this is another one I've been writing about for years, Pumper. This is happening. And this is a collective bargaining agreement. So I got a bunch of that yesterday. They'll never get it passed with 8 owners. They'll never get 24 votes. Not about that. Not a rule change. This is about collective bargaining. So when they go to 18 games, they have to collectively bargain that with the union. At the same time, the thought around the league is they will try to clean up their own house to limit salaries as much as possible. So again, from a player perspective, from an NFLPA perspective, that's not a good thing. From, for people that like unions, not a good thing. For people that dislike rich people, it'll just play into it. But this is far larger than the Philadelphia Eagles. Got to get over the victim mentality. Got to get over it, Pumper.
John, unfortunately, I agree with you about victim mentality. And here's what I will say to the great people of Birds 365. In life, you can be a victim or you can be a victor, okay?
Let's by the way, the Eagles aren't a victim.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Embrace it. Love it. And overcome it all. So good stuff there, Johnny Mac. But, John, is it fair to say this? The Eagles are the catalyst for a lot of these moves. We used that word last week with the pushing rule. All right. Are the Eagles the catalyst because they have used the voidable years better than anybody, more efficiently than anybody, and they've gotten the most success, at least to the eye, because of these voidable years. You look at our offense and people are like, oh, how do you pay everybody? Well, Howie's great at this. He maneuvers everything. It's not just void years, but it's a big part of it. Is it fair to say the Eagles are the catalyst for this?
No. And this is the reason why. The Eagles have done it most successfully. They didn't do it first. They use it more than anybody else. And they've done it most successfully. But success with contracts, at least from a fan perspective, and I'll bring up my buddy Jimmy Kemsky, who did his top 10 worst contracts in the NFC East. Only one Eagles, you can probably predict who he picked, Bryce Huff. I always tried to explain this to Jody. If you look at it from Bryce Johnson, who's the Jake Rosenberg now, he's the guy in charge of doing the contracts.
Right.
And I forget when Jake left. Jake might have done that contract, but either or, it's one of the two.
Jake left what, last offseason, right?
Yeah. So I forget the timing, but either or, one of those two guys. If you look at it from the perspective of their job, the Eagles don't sign bad contracts. So when they finish that contract, it's a good contract from a Jake Rosenberg perspective or a Bryce Johnson perspective. In other words, they did their job spectacularly, as they usually do.
Right. Once the evaluation of the player was determined, they worked the numbers phenomenally on the contract.
Exactly. So the actual contract from their job description is well done, as it typically is well done in Philadelphia. Where it went south is the evaluation. And that's ultimately, when you're talking about success on the field, it's about evaluation. So if the Eagles used these voidable years and got a bunch of evaluations wrong on these big-time players, they'd look like shit. But they're all good. So it looks great. So again, victim mentality. Now, the only part where I will say, and the NFL is designed, and this is Kansas City, this is New England, and during their heyday, any good team in this Philadelphia now. The whole system, as I've explained numerous times, is designed to pull them back to the pack and designed to lift up the shittier teams. The whole system.
Right.
So from
that's how it is for whoever's at the top.
Exactly. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl again, we'll be saying a lot of fans will think the same thing next year. That's how it's set up. That's how the NFL set it up purposefully, because they want as many teams relevant as humanly possible. So that part is baked into the system as a whole, and that includes every successful team. Now, is there jealousy around the league of the Eagles? Absolutely. There's jealousy for any successful team. Was there jealousy for Kansas City? Eagles fan couldn't stand it. Oh, they love Kansas City. The officials are for Kansas City for all those years with Tom. Oh, this and it's the same thing with every team. Just, at some point, people got to wake up to that. People complain about successful teams, so take pride in it. But to the original point with Pumper, and I'm sorry to destroy you, Pumper, the league loves the Eagles.
Well, there is something to be said, right?
Because they generate such interest.
There is something to be said, though, about the success that they've had, right? Like, it's one thing for a loophole to exist, but if nobody's exploiting it that well, now people were exploiting it, but the Eagles, I feel like, did it better. I get what you're saying, though. The evaluation is the bigger part of it, but you might not be able to evaluate as many guys on offense if you're not as successful as that, right? Because you can only bring in one wide receiver, or you can't bring in Saquon Barkley after you've paid every other guy.
Ultimately, success on the field is determined by evaluation of players.
Yes, absolutely. I think everybody can agree to that.
So, if Lane Johnson's not Lane Johnson and you packed off these voidable years or Jordan Mailata or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Jalen Hurts, et cetera, and they're not successful players, and you got all this dead money on the back end and they turn into Carson Wentz. If you go back to Carson Wentz, who was at the time, that looked like a brilliant deal. But they, at the time, and that's how quickly, now it looks quaint. But I remember talking about that with Andrew Brandt, who is one of the best in the business when it comes to NFL business. And he was like, there's no way they're going to eat this dead money. No way. No way. And they did. And at the time, they shattered the NFL record. And they were willing to eat it. Now, as I said, as it's expanded from 40 million in 2013 to 2.2 billion, now if the Eagles messed up a bunch of these evaluations, they'd be in deep shit. But they haven't missed. Except
they haven't missed, but
does
this stop you from
have up level?
Yeah, right. Does this stop you though? Like you mentioned Lane Johnson. All right. The reason the void years are so helpful is because they got the Lane Johnson evaluation right, but then they were able to go and sign 3 more offensive linemen who are the same caliber. Now, their evaluation was good, but if you get rid of the void years, are they no longer able to bring in that many good players because they can't exploit that loophole anymore?
Well, in theory, but so everybody's on the same landscape. So those 25 other teams aren't allowed to do it either. So again, and the Eagles have proven this. And I guarantee you Bryce Johnson's already at work trying to find the next loophole. And by the way, it's not like it's happening tomorrow. And it's not like they can do anything about contracts already
right.
existing and approved. This is about whenever the NFL decides, and they've been out early in their TV, they're probably going to take it because the TV money keeps going up and up and up, and they'll open the CBA earlier than expected. And they can open CBA on any aspect tomorrow if they want. They can open up negotiation and try to change things, but they have to get it by the union, and they're going to have to give up some things to get 18 games. They're going to have to give up some things to get voidable years out, and the union will fight this tooth and nail because the whole reason the owners want to get rid of it is because that salaries have exploded and they want to get that down. Yeah, and obviously the union's the exact opposite. So there's a lot of hurdles, but it's got nothing to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's got to do with salaries overall in the NFL.
Right, but because they're so good at it, it does have the chance to impact them more than other teams.
Well, again, they've used it better than anybody else, but that
right. But because of that, right, it would affect you a little bit more just because you've gotten the most.
Well, that comes down. But my point of that is they used it better than anybody else. That comes back to evaluation. So if you're still evaluating better than other people in a tweaked system, you're still evaluating better. Right. So to me, the on-field stuff has to do with evaluation.
Good stuff there. One more super chat, and then we'll get to our the great Jeff Kerr coming up here post Memorial Day weekend. JD3 says, J-Mac, hate to break it to you, bud, but you're going to see Harrison Bryant push Jalen Hurts in the end zone every game this season. Most valuable pusher MVP.
Who's sitting? Saquon, Dallas? Who's sitting? Ben Van Sumeren?
There's a couple tush pushes I've seen where Devontae Smith is just standing back there doing nothing. Maybe it's him.
Yeah. How is Harrison Bryant getting on the field? I get the shtick, JD3, but how many snaps? If he makes the team, how many snaps do you think he's playing? I mean, what are we doing here? And as we pull up Jeff Kerr, can we pull up Jeff?
Yeah, I'll pull him up now. Let's bring in Jeff Kerr now from CBS Sports. The great Jeff Kerr joins us here on Birds 365. Follow him at Jeff Kerr CBS.
I'm going to make this simple, and Jeff is our stat guy, stat expert. There are 17 games in the regular season, correct, Jeff?
That'd be correct.
And how many times did the Eagles run the tush push last year?
92.
92. Now, is that through the?
Sorry. That's for 3 years.
Yeah, that's
hold
for
on.
3 years.
Yeah, 38. I think 38 was regular season, and when you count the postseason, it ended up being 48 or 49.
Yeah. So we'll just go regular season. So 38 divided by 17 is slightly over 2 times a game. I'm not a mathematician, but I think I've got that correct. That's how much they run the fucking tush push.
And we made such a big deal out of it.
Is it the most overblown thing in the world?
AJ Brown said it best last week, and I kind of wish I was there when he said it, because I probably would have laughed with him. It's just 1 yard. They'll figure out a way how to get that yard, and
they don't have to. They have it in their back pocket. But the point is, the reason the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl was because of AJ Brown and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert and Landon Dickerson and Jalen Carter and Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson and Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. Boy, I found it interesting that all the players were like disgusted by tush push questions, because they're like, hey guys, we're good.
They were tired of it last year. I remember I had to do a couple national stories for CBS, and I know one of them said, I won't say the player, well, thank God I like you, so I'll answer this question. And I'm like, oh boy, like, you guys really don't want to talk about this. And that led into another conversation. Yeah, I mean, it's just a play. I don't understand. It's just a play that they run better than everybody else, and everybody is sour grapes over it. And the debates are so stupid.
They really are.
Like people were like, oh, you're so pro tush push, you don't want it banned, like on X. And I'm like, that's not what I said at all. I just said that it's stupid how everybody's just fighting to get rid of it. And that's not the reason why the Eagles scored 55 points in an NFC Championship game or 40 points in the Super Bowl. And the 95 combined points are the most points for anybody between the Conference Championship game and Super Bowl. That's what upsets me. It's, you think the tush push is the reason why you won a championship. And I actually think a lot of people kind of came together on when I made a couple of these points sarcastically. And they're like, well, yeah, then they don't need it. I'm like, exactly. That's what I'm telling you. They don't need it. They don't need it. If they have it, great. If not, they're still going to score those.
Well, if they have it, it helps, but they don't need it to win. But I agree with both sides. It did help them win games. I mean, it gave you, it gave you an opportunity to win games. But you're right. It's not the meat and potatoes of what wins you football games. I agree with that.
No, it's not like they're running the tush push at the 20 and just running the play for.
I'm interested if any of the fans in the chat can be honest. Like, before this happened, and before people like Jeff told you how many times they ran the play, like, how many times did you guys think they ran this play?
I don't think it's about amount of times run. I think it's more about impact of those of the plays that they did run it on.
What gets my gears going with the tush push is when you got guys like Frankie I can never pronounce his name.
Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, Frankie Louvu. Like, you got guys like him, or you got the Packers. I know the Packers were kind of the pushover for Goodell because they don't have an owner, but when you got their stupid comments and you got
by the way, the Packers had nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah, exactly. They were just, oh, you don't have an actual owner. And like, I even think Jerry Jones said, like, we just don't want to be that team accountable. And like, everybody got so mad that all these teams that played the Eagles voted against it. I would vote against it. I don't want to have to worry about that. That's competitive. That's competition. Deal with it.
Well, my pet peeve is they didn't even vote on that.
Yeah.
They voted on they were supposed to vote. I shouldn't say they did vote on that. They were supposed to vote on removing pushing from offensive football as a whole, downfield, anywhere. which the pre-2005 rule. That's what they were supposed to vote.
And that's what they should have initially pushed in March.
Exactly. The tush push actually got shelved in Palm Beach in the owners meetings at the end of March, April, whatever it was, might have been April 1st. That already got beat in Palm Beach. They were supposed to be voting on something else in Eagan, Minnesota. They didn't. And that's where the Eagles, and I wrote about that on the SI.com, the Eagles outsmarted the NFL. So people should take credit because they made it about one play and it wasn't about one play. And two things I've always said, Zander can back me up. I said, they're never going to ban one play. Two, because it is too punitive to the team. And they didn't. And two, the second part is my only point, because as somebody who wants pushing removed from offensive football, so I'm labeled as anti-tush push, even though I advocated that position before the tush push even existed. So make sense. But I've said from the start, it won't matter a whit for the Eagles because they're still going to be great at traditional quarterback sneaks as they were before the tush push at a higher percentage. Yeah, but I digress.
And a lot of people, I think, were taking that stance too. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. They're going to be great anyway. I just think people just have in their heads that the league hates the Eagles.
Oh, it drives me insane.
No, it's definitely in their head.
The schedule, the league hates. I'm like, why?
Well, wait, Jeff. What do you think about the void year thing? Because we're talking about the tush push, and I don't want to get lost in the tush push debate again. I'm like so done with tush push.
I know. One day off.
Yeah, John, I'm blaming that on you.
Tush push, man.
I'm blaming you. You went right down that hole.
Pupper started it.
Yes,
he started it.
What about the void years, though, Jeff?
What part were you guys talking about the void years when I logged on?
Just whether they're targeting the Eagles, one, the implications it'll have league wide, obviously, and why they're doing it as a whole. Just your thoughts on the overall, conversation about the league looking at getting rid of the void years because it's kind of gotten a little out of hand.
It's a good loophole, but it's just one of those. Every team's doing it now because it's a way to manipulate the cap, and there are a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. Normally, they're fans of the Saints that believe that the salary cap doesn't exist. And I'm like, well, it does exist. It's just you don't know how to use it right. And look, you're taking a gamble when you take those void years. That's just plain and simple. If you get a player wrong, you get a free agent contract wrong. I mean, can you imagine, like in baseball, all the bad contracts there are, if you add void years to that, how bad that would look?
Yeah, well, baseball and basketball are different. This is one thing, and because I heard Saquon say this. And he was advocating, I believe it was on Exciting Mics with Reed and Cooper, advocating for fully guaranteed contracts in the NFL. Well, the problem is, versus because they're in baseball and basketball, the problem is the injury rate in the NFL. Like, can you imagine getting a baseball contract? And again, numbers make a difference. There's far less NBA players than NFL players, far less NFL players, far less baseball players than NFL players. So that speaks to the number. But can you imagine if you have one of these career-ending, like Nakobe Dean? Imagine he signed a Roquan Smith deal. Imagine he was that type of player.
That'd be terrible, by the way.
And he tears his patellar tendon, and that's it. And then that's on the books for perpetuity. Not to say he can't get injured in baseball, but the odds are much less. Not to say you can't get injured in basketball.
Honestly, if these guys want fully guaranteed money, then they should learn how to play flag football now. And they might be able to get it.
We might be going that way.
Yeah, probably are going that
way. That part of the thing, and NFL owners, and the second part I should have mentioned about the voidable years, and I brought this up last week to a certain extent about, look, everyone assumes every NFL owner is rich, and they are, but there's a lot there's a big difference between Walton level rich, Tepper level rich, Jones level rich, Kroenke level rich, and Mike Brown and Mark Davis, who are just really rich to us, but are like a speck on the Walton family's what. So the whole idea is with the NFL is parity, as I've often talked about. They push down the good teams, they try to elevate the bad teams. Pretty hard to do that when some of the richer owners. Now, to Jeffrey Lurie's credit, he's not even in the top 10 when it comes to richest NFL owners.
Yeah, he's kind of in the middle, I think.
Yeah, he's in the middle. But, so credit to him for be willing to do this. That part Eagles fans should be overjoyed with. But there is a competitive disadvantage when the Waltons are the richest owner. Denver now, they surpassed, I don't know if it was Kroenke, Tepper, somebody number 2, but and then the lower level owners like Davis and Brown specifically.
Yeah, Bidwell.
Yeah, there's a big competitive disadvantage and that's why they have the cap to begin with. So the idea of
Brian, you mentioned the number. What was the number? Sorry to cut you there. What was the full number of contracts that are using void? It was like 2.4 billion, was it?
26 teams, over $2.2 billion.
Of void. And how much do the Eagles have of that, though?
Eagles, I can look it up.
Because I think they were the top by a pretty significant margin.
They're number 1 by a pretty large margin. But I'd have to look that up. Give me a few minutes. But
sorry, I didn't want to. I thought you might have had it in front of you. I didn't want to put you on the spot there, but I was just trying to break it down in my head. Like, all right, 2.2, across 26 teams. If the Eagles have 400 million or whatever it is, I mean, they're really taking advantage of it as compared to what many of those other 26 teams might be doing.
They are. They use it more than anybody else. And there's no question about that. But again, it's about the whole thing is about salaries and how they've exploded and a bunch of rich people trying to limit salaries. I mean, that's what it's about.
Right.
That's what it's about.
But salaries are going to explode. That's what happens when you have a mega TV deal and the league just prints money. I'm wondering when the league's going to stop printing money, but with streaming prevalent, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's very difficult to get, 32 ownership groups. Eagles are 390 million in money in voidable years. Number 2 is San Francisco at 204.
Yeah, San Fran's been doing a lot of voidable contracts with their extensions.
Cleveland, who learned from the Eagles and does it because Andrew Berry and Catherine Hickman are there. 187. The Saints are 112. Jacksonville's 106.
So Eagles though still almost double the second place team.
Yes. Jets.
So they're a lot. All right. Yeah,
Dolphins,
they still are
70.
very much.
Yeah. So they use it more than anybody else. They use more money, which again is a testament to Jeffrey Lurie because he's not the Walton family.
Yep.
So all of that is you should laud the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. And
I really do think the Eagles view it as I'd rather spend money on my players and have a competitive team than buy the newest, greatest stadium or the newest, greatest practice facility or whatever. Right. And maybe that'll come to fruition at some point. But I think it's like I'd rather show off in my 26-year-old building the 2 trophies I got.
Well, again, though, it doesn't matter if the number's 390 or 204 or 187. Like, look at Cleveland. How many things have they screwed up evaluation-wise?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right about that, John. The reason that works so well for the Eagles is not because they couldn't get void years; it's because they're making good. They're their evaluation is on point.
Like I always look at this with Cleveland, for example. Could they, like, I get they had an offer they couldn't refuse for Travis Hunter from Jacksonville, but could it come down to they just did not want to pay this guy?
Who?
Travis Hunter, when they trade down from 2 to 5.
I don't think so. No, because I mean, rookie contracts aren't a problem because they're structured.
Yeah,
and they're guaranteed by the way.
But look how much some of these guys are getting, even with the.
And by the way, you're getting a break if you're taking a position player, any position player versus quarterback. You're getting a built-in break there. Now, I mean, when you're in the top 5, you're going to be spending a lot of money for rookie wise. But think about what it was like before with Sam Bradford.
Well, remember like the Tim Couch Donovan era. Like,
yeah,
I think the Eagles actually paid Donovan more than Cleveland paid Tim Couch, and I think the reasoning was he's by Tom Hodge. Well, we think he's better than Tim Couch, and they were right.
Yeah, I don't think any team in the league has a problem with rookie contracts as they're structured now. In fact, that's one of the big wins they got when they shifted that system. The owners, I'm talking about, for the owners.
But it kills us, though, for all season content. No holdouts.
No holdouts. And by the way, I'm glad you brought that up because OTA start today.
Oh, goody.
OTAs are voluntary, everybody. You cannot hold out from OTAs.
All right, John, I'm going to get my OTA ran in right now. And
Go ahead.
Just got the first one in.
Go ahead.
They're voluntary.
Yes.
If someone tells me what a 3rd and 4th stringer looks like in shorts, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, they are. Get ready for it.
I just get sick of it. Like, even those beat guys do it. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I say it all the time. Xander was frustrated with me with rookie camp.
Did you learn nothing?
I was just trying to do my job the best I could, Johnny Mac. It wasn't frustration at you.
Well, no, I'm not blaming you. I don't like lying to people. So I'm like, well, what? I'm like, nothing. That's what I saw. Nothing.
I love when agents will tell you, oh, this guy performed well. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll see when they get the pads on.
Now, yeah, exactly. Well, that's what, we're talking about OTAs. I by and large, you remember Saquon during OTAs? It was like,
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got pictures of them,
Yeah.
Well, remember last year it was Kenny Pickett's outplaying Jalen Hurts in OTAs.
Well, he was sharper in OTAs, which should tell people about OTAs, I do think, there's two things. Like, obviously, Jalen was, and he admitted it in his own way when he was talking about the offense being 95% new. And it's like, hey, there's a lot of shit to catch up on. And, he struggled in the spring.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal, but he did. And Kenny was more familiar with playing that style because remember what they were trying to do early in the process. They were trying to bring in a lot of Kellen Moore philosophies with motion and dumping the football off. And that's not the strength of Jalen Hurts' game. So it's practice. You're trying to work on the things you need to work on. I as a whole, Jeff, I think people don't know how to watch practice.
I agree. As someone who practices in a completely different sport, if you said Jeff Kershaw won 40 game in practice, I'd laugh at you. I'm like, do you think I was doing that on purpose? Just curious. Because that's how I feel with football players. It's like, you like, again, not getting on the guy who does it. I don't think he does it for training camp stat. I don't think he does it for OTA stat. But Jalen Hurts is 13 of 19. I'm like, okay, what's the context of that?
Well, I remember a big story. I got in trouble with my buddy D Gunn, who's awesome. But he it was a couple of years back when he said Jalen wasn't looking good, and I don't know, there were like 10 straight reps, and I'm like, hey, and this was a day where everything was closed, so it was coming, and I'm sure somebody told D Gunn that. I'm not. But when are you getting 10 straight reps in practice?
I don't never remember anybody getting 10 straight reps. Like, not even.
No, again, it could have been conflated. It could have been 3. And then his next set of 3, his next
Yeah,
set,
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
That's
Was
what
it
it
10 when they were switching off and he just
Yeah.
had 10 straight
Yeah.
plays? Like,
But it's like A, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. B, what is the process? I always bring up, Doug's 10-10-10 practices and Andy's 10-10-10 practices where, they're set up where the offense is basically like more of a scout team environment where the offense is giving a look to the defense or vice versa. And people who don't know what they're watching are making judgments on not understanding what the goal of the session is, so to speak, the period. But yeah, I mean, the whole point of practice is to work on things you need to work on, not
the point of
not
practice.
just
Yeah,
do
we
what you
talked to
do
Tom
well.
about that last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny when, again, I cover 2 sports and I literally have players on the other sport I cover, baseball, asking me what OTAs and football are like. And I tell them, like, you pretty much learn nothing. They're like, so it's like watching us in long toss at spring training or something. I said, yeah, pretty much. You're not getting much out of it.
Well, consider that, forget what I say. Consider that the Eagles are permitted 10 OTA sessions and they're using 6. They're permitting,
Which is low for them.
they're permitted 3 days of minicamp and they're using 1.
And my guess is they cancel it.
And yeah, they might even cancel it. So, they highlight what spring work means.
Yeah, it's by the way, John, do we still know when we're going down there yet?
Tentative for tomorrow. There's some weather issues, but most likely tomorrow. So get the rain gear ready.
Nah, lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky. I
Keyword
gotta
tentative.
go to the Phillies tomorrow too. Lucky me.
Rain delay.
Rain delay. Yep. Wet. I'll have to change in the.
That's the brutal part of covering baseball, Jeff. Rain delays.
Oh, it's
extra
brutal.
inning.
Every
I can
day,
get
covering baseballs every day.
I'll tell you what, as a fan, I hate ghost runners. I hate it. I think it's a gimmick. I think it's the worst thing in the history of baseball. I'm exaggerating because
What are ghost runners? The
runner on
overtime thing?
second.
Oh God, John, am I with you on that?
Yeah.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. In
I'm
my
gonna
life.
tell-
However,
I'm gonna tell you guys, as someone who covers it, it's
All right,
the
let
greatest
John
thing ever.
that's what I was about to say. If I were covering baseball, it would be the best thing ever. The best thing. But
Why? Just because you get out of Dodge quicker?
Exactly.
I don't want to be there 6 hours, and I love baseball.
Yeah.
But
But
it
if
just
you
feels
got
like
to
a
sit
phony way
there,
to win a baseball game.
if you got to sit there for 19 innings, I mean, there's nothing more miserable. And at least the ghost runner prevents that for the people. Nobody cares about, no offense, Jeff. Nobody cares about people covering the game. For the game, it is horrible. It is horrible. It is a horrible rule. And they don't use it in the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah,
They're
right.
just trying to
They
get
would-
through the
they would
regular
never do it.
season.
Yeah,
But-
and so I understand it from that perspective. All right, so since I got Ebenezer Scrooge here and the Grinch on off season on off season football, Jeff, I got to get. Come on, what are the most exciting or the things that you're most excited for in the off season just to learn? It might not be now. It might not be in OTAs. It might take till the end of training.
It happened
camp,
already. It happened already, but people hate it. The schedule release.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I love the
I like the
schedule
schedule
release.
release.
I love it.
I'm with you, too. I
I'll
like
tell
it
you
too.
right now, I love free agency. I hate the combine. I hate the draft. I hate the whole
I
draft.
love the draft.
Well, I like the draft itself. I hate the weeks leading up to the draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
God. That's where the know-it-alls show up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So don't
You're
like
right.
Draft
that.
is great though because it's like the Super Bowl in that it involves all 32 teams. Like you get a Super Bowl and it's the Rams and the Bills. Like most Eagles fans won't even watch. I remember a couple of years ago when we were doing the content and the Eagles had gotten eliminated in the first round versus the Bucs, and I tried to do like content on the Super Bowl. Nobody watched. I got like 180 views. I'm like, oh man, Philly fans really do not care unless it's the Eagles. So
No.
that's what I love about the draft, though. It involves all 32 teams and
Yeah.
every fan base gets fired up.
I think what drives me nuts about the draft, Xander, like I have a package of research notes that I do on players, and a lot of people help me on it. I don't pretend like I knew who Andrew Makuba was, like, to the umpteenth degree. I know who he is. I know
Right.
I knew what school he went to, what he played. I knew he was like an All-American, that type of stuff, but or all conference. But you have people in there acting like he's, gonna be,
Seamless transition, Jeff.
yeah,
Seamless transition.
yeah, or the 5th round pick. It's like I don't even know who to use as an example. Like, okay, I'll probably know Kyle McCord because he's a quarterback, a lot better than, I don't know, Grant or someone like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like it's just one of those.
Well,
I don't pretend I'm a draft expert.
all you have to go is to last year's 5th round picks. Boy, did we have some hype over them, man.
Oh yeah, and yeah,
And
nice.
Nia Smith was brutal. Trevor Keegan redshirted, and Jeremiah Trotter showed some signs, but barely played on defense.
Yeah,
And boy,
and
in the offseason, man, after they drafted him, there was a lot of hype over
yeah,
those guys.
and it's funny, and maybe it's because of the platform I work at. People just don't care unless it's a name like Trotter or Shador Sanders.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no question about it. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
it's the same thing with it's the same thing with free agents, if they know the name like Justin Simmons,
mhm.
it's a big deal. If it's, a 26-year-old emerging player coming off his rookie contract like Brandon Brooks, everybody back then was like, "Oh, all right. Yeah." And
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
yeah. Even like when they signed Rodney McLeod, I believe they signed him on the same day they
yeah.
signed Brooks. And I'm like, oh, Rodney McLeod, that's not a bad signing for them. Like, I know who Rodney McLeod is, but I don't expect everybody to know who he is. You know what I mean? Like, and again, there are some people that are really good at the draft and they know everybody and every undrafted free agent. I'm like, I got to worry about way too much stuff than a 5th or 6th round pick. And I just get tired of hearing about how this guy fits and this guy fits and this guy fits.
Everybody fits.
Yeah.
Everybody's great.
Well, speaking of Trotter, I think Trotter's about to have a really big opportunity here. Now, whether he seizes it or whether he comes out of it, I'm not sure. But I do think the linebacker position is one of the more interesting ones of the offseason as we get closer. What are we, like 100 days away? I'm guessing
We are exactly 100 days away.
Exactly 100? Nice.
Yep. So, yeah. So it's a big countdown day for CBS. We're already ranking like 100 things to watch and 100 games and all that stuff.
I mean, I mentioned Trotter in my piece on Sports Illustrated. It's like his off season because Shahad's not going to be healthy. N'Kobe's not going to be healthy. So he's going to be the guy to start out with Zach Bond. And he's going to have every opportunity to open some eyes until those guys get healthy.
And that's where OTAs have meaning for me. It's like you said, John. That's an opportunity for him to show, hey, I know the defense. I can do this. If you need me to play a significant role, I can do that for you.
Yeah. I think Munden's going to have a big opportunity too, Jeff, on the same line that you just said. Trotter has that opportunity. I don't think Munden's completely, out of it either. I think Munden's going to get great looks and great opportunity for a 5th round pick this offseason.
Yeah, you know what? That was one of the picks where that kind of opened my eyes when they picked him. I'm like, I didn't even realize he was still on the board, to be honest with you. I was just kind of, there was always certain players who were like, wait, they're in the 5th? How'd they fall? Or, how were they not picked yet? I felt like Smell Munden was, a day 3 talent, but I thought he'd get picked higher than where he got picked. Or I guess lower, I guess is the correct term now.
Yeah. Well, there's some guys. I mean, Munden's another one, similar for the same reason. We're talking about Trotter because he's going to have a better opportunity than he typically would if N'Kobe and Campbell are taking up a bunch of first team reps. So that works for him as well. But yeah, when you start talking about day 3 guys, and people should have been learned by last year, it's not easy for those guys to
they should have learned back in 2009 when Macho Harris replaced Brian Dawkins.
I mean, it's just not easy to step in as a young player if you're getting drafted on day 3. I mean, there's a reason you're getting drafted on day 3. Not saying it doesn't happen. Puka Nacua most recently. But again, if you're playing the odds. So even a lot of people are excited about Ty Robinson. But Mac McWilliams, because, they have to repopulate the secondary. Munden, he could beat out Trotter. Why not? Drew Kendall, people talk about right guard. Why not Drew Kendall or Miles Hinton or Cameron Williams?
I bet Drew Kendall gets a look.
Kyle McCord, can he push Tanner McKee? Who knows? Powell Ryland, a lot of people are excited about him. They need edge rushers. So, but it's going to be difficult for most of them. Maybe you get one that hits, but if you're playing the odds, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks, day 3 picks. Most of them aren't playing right away.
No, but hopefully you get one. I think that's what they're banking on.
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you think of right guard?
Oh, I think personally, I think they're going to give Tyler Steen the first shot, but I think they want Kenyon Green to get it. I don't know. Maybe John has a different opinion on that. I mean, you trade for Kenyon Green.
He was so bad. I can't.
Yeah, he was terrible. I think Tyler Steen's better than him.
And the other thing about Kenyon Green is, like, you can say they traded for him. That move to me just felt like they were doing anything they could to dump CJ Gardner.
That was like a salary dump. That was like an NBA salary.
Sure, if you want to give me Kenyon Green, I'll take him. Just take CJ Gardner Johnson off my hands. Like, that's what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like they were like, we believe we got a guy with upside. It didn't feel like that. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, but I agree, Xander. That's where you're trying to justify the trade that you made because you don't want to admit that it was a salary dump or there were other factors into why you got rid of this guy.
Well, there are. Yeah. I mean, he's high maintenance. Let's be nice. Since we're on, we had a day off. Let's be nice. CJ's high maintenance. But I'll tell you what, he's a hell of a player.
He is.
Hell of a playmaker.
And help them get the 2 Super Bowls and win 1.
And I don't think there's going to be a seamless transition from CJ Gardner Johnson to Andrew Makuba. That is a big-time playmaker that is now playing in Houston, albeit a big-time pain in the you-know-what as well.
I had to do some bold predictions for the all season already, and one of them involves CJ. I'm like, Houston's going to be tougher. They're going to be mentally ready for the grind, so to speak, because of guys like him. They traded for guys like him, and they acquire guys like him. I think they realized last year, we're all bark and no bite. I think they're trying.
Well, you could also blow up the whole thing. We'll see how D'Amico handles it. But good luck to our old friend D'Amico Ryans, because they have a talented team.
Yeah, they do have a very talented team.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how CJ Stroud improves in year 3 because they did just decide to get rid of Bobby Slowick, who was a head coach candidate just a year ago.
Yeah, that was an interesting move. Jeff, it was funny how everybody talked about, CJ took a big regression in year 2. They still went to the playoffs. They still went to the playoffs.
They won a playoff game.
Yeah, it wasn't that big, but no, he definitely didn't look quite the same. But I don't know. That's what I'm thinking happens with Jaden Daniels this year. It's not going to be awful, but I think just because they set the bar so high last year compared to where they came from, it's going to be hard to meet that mark again. Is what my take on.
And again, I know it could be lazy, but you're playing a tougher schedule. You're playing the NFC North. You're playing the AFC West. You are playing now a second place schedule. You're not playing the worst team in every division for your interdivision games anymore. It add on to what you're already scheduled. So, I mean, look, they could still win 10, 11 games, but they may not be as good. Or
they might win less and they might be better. CJ Stroud, their offensive line was a mess. I always talk about quarterback evaluation being broken. I don't think he played poorly. I think he had a shitty offensive line. And that usually, when you have a good quarterback who has a down year, look at the offensive line first and see what kind of year they had. Now, if the offensive line played well, and you have a quarterback who had a down year, then you might have some issues.
I do
Right.
think it's funny though. Again, you talk about offensive line, John. Sam Darnold had a good offensive line until he didn't. When everybody said we're just gonna,
Well, he had a crappy interior offensive line. He's got
Well,
great
well,
tackles.
yeah, but I would say Detroit exposed that a bit
Well, yeah, no doubt about it.
because they're good.
Which is kind of the Rams even more so.
Yeah,
But
well,
but the Rams,
The Rams, really, yeah.
the Rams, they have a really good. And I mentioned Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata told me that and said they were really fucking good. Their pass rush, which kind of shocked me. Not that, just how well they spoke of the pass rush. Now, obviously, they have to figure out some issues when it comes to stopping the run. But yeah, it's it. And then when Minnesota lost Darisaw,
yeah,
like
that was dead.
then yeah, that was a big injury because that dude could play. But so yeah, but the interior, Garrett Bradbury, and he's going to be New England's starting center.
Yeah,
Now
that just
there's a
shows you
guy.
that shows
He
you how
was
bad the Patriots' offensive line was last year.
Yeah, I mean that guy's just but he was a first round pick, so they kept giving him chance after chance after chance. I remember people were comparing him to Jason Kelsey because he was undersized and athletic. Boy, he just can't play. I mean,
The funny
just
thing
can't
is with the
play.
Patriots, like their offensive line was so bad last year, and Drake May made that offense kind of respectable.
It's why people are so high on Drake May. You
Yeah.
get an offensive line, but I don't like doing that backward. Same thing Chicago did. They did it backward.
Yeah, they did.
And you never know if you lose. I think it's people are more concerned about Caleb Williams. One, because he's higher profile, but two, because he showed some signs of some bad body language signs because he was getting beat to you know what.
Then you got Wickersham's article that came out
Yeah.
about how he was trying to avoid even going there.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about Caleb Williams, all the talent in the world, but
Well,
I
that's
feel
why,
like-
did they lose him? They might have lost him.
yeah, I feel like he's going to be a 30 for 30 someday. I really do.
He's either going to be that or he's going to be good this year.
I mean, Ben Johnson can't get something out of him.
No one can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, you joked earlier in this segment about off-season content. They're now spinning, Caleb Williams like rolling out to his right and making a throw. Look at what Ben Johnson's done for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he's the perfect
let's pump the
OTAs.
brake. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like
pump
last
the
year, are we
brakes on
sure
that.
Kellen Moore's offense is going to work? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, Ben's good. Now, is he going to be a good head coach? I have no idea, but he's going to come up with some offense. He's going to scheme some people up that everybody wants but it's a lot easier to scheme. Nobody's going to Caleb Williams is a hell of a lot more talented than Jared Goff, but Jared Goff knows how to play the position. So you can do a lot more things with Jared Goff than Caleb Williams. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year just in general from that standpoint. John, I did want to ask you this because I was like trying to do 100 things to get excited for the season, stuff like that. Did this offseason, at least in free agency, not feel like a typical free agent year?
Maybe. Well, I think for Eagles fans, yeah, because they didn't make the splashes.
But like around the league, like it just felt like an underwhelming class or
well, I think it was, most people, it wasn't a great class. I agree with that. But, there's always good players and there'll be good players. But I think Eagles fans, I mean, we dubbed it the Temu offseason here.
Temu offseason.
All they did was sign a bunch of 1-year prove-it guys.
Didn't you hear? They're gonna be big contributors.
They didn't give one guy. They signed 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to count Lou Nichols. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 guys. Not one of them got more than 1 year.
Jeez. I don't like that.
It's interesting. But you
Do
know,
you think? Do you think they knew anything about the void year talk coming, and maybe that
well,
changed what they
they've
did this?
known,
Yeah,
no,
that's
they've
been known.
they've known that for years.
What again?
When would that come? By the way, would that be that you, John? You mentioned that would be collectively bargained, so that could be
Yeah.
basically anytime.
Yeah, they can
No.
open it. They can open it up anytime they want. Now, people, I know Jason Fitzgerald brought it up because of what Roger Goodell said at the spring meetings. There's an open now. Technically, the CBA is that 10 years, but they have an out after like 5 years. So people get hyper focused on that, but you can open it up at any time. The speculation of the 18 game schedule is when they're going to open it up because they have to. And they're going to try to get some ancillary stuff in there as well. And a lot of people are speculating this is it because of what Roger Goodell said in Minnesota. So that's why all the speculation.
And the TV deal stuff, like there's an opt-out in 2030. I mean, I already know execs at CBS are already preparing for that just because of
because they're going to opt out. They're going to opt out unless the whole economy collapses.
Now, question for you, John. We'll go TV route here. Do you think Netflix gets more inventory? Do you think Prime ends up getting more inventory?
Depends if they want to pay. Yes, I mean the NFL's very. If you want to pay, they're gonna create. They're gonna take the money.
But by the way, it sounds crazy to me because I know how much money Netflix and Prime makes, but especially Netflix. Where do they get their money? They just can't get it off subscribers.
Well, they've started. It is mainly subscribers, but they've started selling ads now, and they've started going into live programming.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, they just made. Yeah, that's. If you think about where Netflix started with the DVDs and people
I used
would
to
mail
have
them back,
DVDs.
it's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, their market cap now is I'm looking it up, $504 billion, and that was basically all subscribe. Remember, it's worldwide. It's a worldwide company.
Yeah, it's a worldwide company.
Yeah, and remember, you don't have to make the money to spend the money, especially in that world. You
Yeah,
can call up a couple investors, do a big
I mean, I can
raise,
understand
and they'll
how
make a
Prime
lot of
makes their money. Prime Video is just something, Amazon's just giant
Amazon's
in and
a
of
beast.
itself. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they've created that kind of market cap just based on their business structure, and it's pretty amazing.
I do laugh at this, just as maybe someone who works for a legacy broadcast partner. But you're letting Netflix and Prime kind of get in your territory, more than okay, right? But if you're doing that, I'll use Prime as an example. Prime uses NBC people and NBC production.
Oh yeah.
Why doesn't NBC tell them to shove it and say, go figure it out yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, everybody, because the NFL uses, like a lot of people do their own production, but the NFL has always kind of farmed it out. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. Obviously, you save money, but sometimes maybe the production isn't where you want it to be. But they've always been of the mentality to farm it out. And look, everybody wants the NFL, so they're all willing to bend over backward. And that means, and Netflix or Amazon, I'm not sure what Amazon's doing, but
yeah, I mean, Netflix is filled with debt, but they're buying the NFL because it's bringing more long-term value to their.
And they're banking on people paying for Netflix to watch the NFL.
Yeah, I think they have $15 billion in debt or whatever it is. But
for a company of that size,
that's what I mean. It's baby peanuts. But Jeff's saying, where do they go all the money? The money comes all over the place when you're that big.
And Amazon's market cap, but Amazon's a much more encompassing company, 2.1 trillion. That's the biggest company in the world.
By the way, I love to tell people this about with Amazon, because people are like, I'm not paying for Thursday Night Football. I'm not paying for the streaming. I'm not doing this. I'm like, do you have Amazon? Do you have an Amazon membership? Well, yeah, I get my stuff shipped to me in 2 days. I have Prime. I'm like, then you're already paying for it.
Exactly.
Like, do you not know, like, you get Prime Video? Like, I'm telling you, John, it's my favorite argument, because I am a NASCAR fan. I got to listen to these NASCAR people think they know everything all the time. I am not paying for Prime. I'm not paying to watch a NASCAR race on Prime. You literally paid to watch NASCAR on TNN and ESPN in the 90s. What is the difference?
Well, it's a problem with a lot of older people, because they're just not used to it. I mean,
Yeah.
And you really have to work. You know, if you want to watch like every Phillies game, you really got to work to find out what is it on, where am I going? And old people have just been watching it, turning on whatever local broadcast. Yeah, it pisses them off, which I get. But
my dad's the best. He doesn't even deal with it. He just tells me, you come over, they're on Apple tonight. You just put it on. All I gotta do is turn TV off. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Even I don't know what Cozy TV is. I know the Phillies and Eagles were on that at one point.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
I don't even know what the hell that is. I still
wasn't the Eagles' third preseason game on like Cozy
TV? Yeah, it was
TV?
on Cozy TV. I don't even know. I still don't know what it is.
I told them they're actually doing you a favor. It gives you a reason not to watch it.
Yeah. Cozy, yeah. I'm not well. It's and by the way, that's free to air, I think. Cozy, but I don't know how to get it.
You know, I know the Eagles have a partnership with NBC and all that, and like, I'm not ripping anybody or anything, but like, you would think like the Eagles would be mad, like their preseason game got kicked down the curb to Cozy TV.
Well, that tells you about, maybe, boy, preseason football. Can we just get rid of it, NFL?
Please.
Yeah, it's dumb. I used to say, nah, I don't have a reason to get rid of it. Now that I cover it, it's just like, it is so dumb.
John and I are going to get to the point where Xander's going to, what you learn from preseason game number 2? Nothing.
Oh, that question will be asked, Jeff. That question will be asked.
And
whether
well,
John likes it or not.
and the problem is the NFL, because they're money grabbing ghouls. They bundle it with regular season games, and if you buy season tickets, you got to buy the preseason.
What a joke!
Hey, they're stealing money, but hey, they steal money all the time.
What a regular season ticket costs to not see anybody.
Stealing money.
The only thing these teams do right now is they learned how to play preseason games in the afternoon.
Well, the one thing I like about preseason games is that there is a lot of fans and a lot of people who can't afford to bring their kids or whatever to a regular season game. So they'll bring them to a preseason game. And now it's not the same experience or anything, but at least you can bring them down, see the stadium, ignite their fandom when they're young. I think that part of it is good.
Well, this is what sucks about young fans. Like, what got me into the NFL was I got to go to training camp and I got to watch the practices.
Right.
And I got to go to the preseason games and actually watch the good players play.
Yeah, not the bottom 40 who are about to be cut.
They don't do that anymore. Again, no disrespect to any of these guys. I just don't care.
Yeah, I hear you. I got you.
I cared about them when I was 5, because I thought it was cool that these guys are playing in the NFL. But it just sucks. Like, you can't go to training camp anymore. Like, a fan can't go to training camp. The Eagles. It's not even the Eagles. It's the entire NFL. It's just,
it's more the Eagles than most of the NFL.
Yeah, they gotta have everything in the fortress.
Yeah, and you can go to practice as long as you spend a lot of money. You can go to practice.
Yeah, but it never used to be like that. It was, you walk in, it's free. You got to walk around the campus of Lehigh or Westchester, and you watch practice. It was great. I was there today. They kicked TL out. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We all were wondering, where's he going? Did Andy just kick him out? We heard Andy yell at him.
Yeah, times have changed when it comes to training camp. That's for sure.
Eli Ricks would say, I love preseason football. Guy's still on the roster from a preseason pick he had a couple of years ago, isn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah. Eli's still here.
Well, what do you guys think of this question?
He likes something else now.
Eli would say, "I love Ivanka Trump."
He's become a comedian. Yeah, he's funny. Brandon Howard says, though, how else can you properly evaluate the 90-man roster to get down to 53 and 16 practice squad? You can't simulate live football in practice.
I'll say this, Brandon, they put a lot more weight on practice than they do preseason games.
Yeah, they do. That's why John and I like to keep a close eye on these training camp practices. And
I mean, they don't even play meaningful players anymore for more than a handful of with the Eagles. You know, some teams still play their guys the old school way. Kansas City mainly,
Baltimore,
couple old school coaches. The Eagles, they value joint practices. Nick says it all the time. Just listen to Nick. They get their work during the joint practices, the key players. The preseason game, that's where the bottom 40 is.
And again, that's what bothers me is, just going from the fan perspective. Put those joint practices. Let fans see them. Not like you said, John, spend a lot of money to get them.
And one of the reasons why, this is true, you could script things in practice. So, coaches have told me that for years. So if you want to work on something, you can script it in practice. Like if you're struggling with red zone stuff, you can script a red zone period. If you want to work a backed up period, you can script it. In a game, you have to hope it comes up, and you're not going to be playing your key players. So it's far less valuable. Again, it's practice, and preseason game is practice too. You're not trying to win. You're not fighting and clawing. You're trying to get better. And for coaches, they would rather have the ability to work on what they want to work on than just hoping it comes up in a game.
Yeah, it's just a different time.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a different time.
It is. It's,
Jeff, give me one thing you're excited to read about this week from John McMullen or yourself that you're going to write about.
I read everything from John McMullen. So
all right. So what's the one thing you're excited to read? There's got to be one thing. Scrooge.
I know what Jeff's excited about. It's Ed Kratz's overreaction.
I know. They're the best thing.
Overreactions.
Ed does the best overreaction. I do them around the NFL. I did them for the schedule release.
You guys need to lighten up. The overreactions is the essence of what we're looking for from those practices.
No, we don't need to lighten up. Fans need to lighten up because when Ed says something,
no, they want to enjoy some off season.
What do you want me to tell? What do you want me to tell you that? Like seriously, like do you want me to tell you that the Eagles are the greatest team in football?
Yeah, well, they want validation. Yes, most want validation. But to Ed's point, like Ed's the guy who said Kenny Pickett was sharper. And he was, by the way. Kenny Pickett was sharper in spring work than Jalen Hurts. And he got, basically death threats, I think. I mean, fans are the ones who got. And by the way, it's advertised as overreaction.
Overreaction.
He's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, like people got so mad last year when because I have to do them. It's part of my weekly column every Sunday. It's overreactions around the league. And I said in week 14, the NFC North isn't as good as their records say they are. And I got roasted by Detroit fans, by Packers fans, by Vikings fans. When they all lost that playoff game, I retweeted them. I said, shut up. You were wrong.
By the way, Dan Campbell had to move out of his house. So, there are other fan bases do the same thing. People need to lighten up with professional football. They need to lighten up.
People need to lighten up with everything. I mean, Jesus Christ, Seinfeld's offensive now.
Is it? What's offensive now?
I don't know, but all the self-righteous people like to think everything's offensive.
All right. Yeah, everything is offensive.
Well,
except Jeff Kerr.
I'll speak for the fan. I'll stand up for the fan. Dabney says, I mean, we are the champs. If we can't be happy and optimistic after winning a damn ring, then when can we be?
Who said you can't be happy and optimistic?
You can be happy and optimistic as you want.
I'm saying lighten up on the death threats. Is that too much to ask?
That's for sure. Yeah, I mean,
or don't get upset when Kenny Pickett's out throwing Jalen Hurts and OTAs.
By the way, I'm joking, but yeah, if you're happy and optimistic, you're not making death threats. So
exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, look, I have no problem if Eagles fans bragging about their Super Bowl chance. They have every right to do that. They should do that.
Yeah, spike the ball. I tell you all the time, spike the football.
Yeah, spike the football. Enjoy yourself. Like this is the best 7 months of your life. Enjoy it.
What I'm not validating is the whole world's against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I think that's bullshit. So I'm not validating.
Yeah. The league is coming for us, J-Mac.
That's just people looking to be upset at something.
Victim mentality. Take pride.
All right, answer this, both of you. All right, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because largely I agree with what John has said about.
This is peak off season, by the way.
All right, but here we go. Well, what did the league do? What did the league do to the Chiefs when they had won 2 straight Super Bowls and were going for the 3-peat? Did they do anything to bring that parity in the NFL?
What?
Yeah, what?
Versus the Eagles win and the tush push is back out the door.
But they were trying to ban it last year.
No, they weren't. That was 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl that year. Nobody talked about the tush push last year.
As Zander knows, I don't argue people's faulty premises. It's a waste of time. You know, did they ban the tush push?
They did not.
Did I miss something?
They did not. They attempted
what
to,
the
John.
What the hell are you talking about?
They attempted to, as we spent like 16 shows discussing here on Birds 365.
Did they ban the tush push?
Who
was the comment?
They did not. No.
All right. So what did they do to the Eagles?
Nothing.
Other than in your mind. Nothing.
Well, if it wasn't for the great Jeffrey Lurie pulling out all the stops and making Jed York curse him out and putting Troy Vincent and Roger Goodell in his place, John, as you predicted, that thing would have been out of here. So Jeffrey Lurie saved it.
I do believe he saved it.
He did, definitely. I think.
But
so.
you know, the actual tush push, which I said pretty consistently was a horribly worded proposal. Didn't even come close to passing. And that was in Palm Beach, not Egan, not last week, or whenever the hell it was.
John, who was the maddest of the players? Who was the maddest when they were asked about the tush push?
The players?
Yeah, of the players that spoke last week.
None were. What do you mean, mad? Maybe mad about Jordan Mailata about
getting asked about it, I guess. Like they know they're getting asked, but you know, it's like,
yeah, Jordan. Wow, Jordan's kind of a shtick. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. But,
oh yeah, he is.
But yeah, kind of Jordan's like, what are we talking about? You know, who cares? Basically, I got to kick out because the coaches are very like they're like we do this better than everybody else, and we deserve credit for it, and that's fine. The players are like, I don't give a shit, because the players are like, we're pretty. I think they're alienated by it because they're like, we're pretty good. We're more than the tush push. I think that's how they look at it, and I think the coaches are like, you know, we figured it out, and they did. You know, this has been out of the game since 2005, and nobody took advantage of it until the Eagles. They deserve a hell of a lot of credit for that. I used to
joke when they were trying to get rid of him. Like, did they ban the West Coast offense because Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and Dwight Clark and all these guys, Roger Craig and all them were just good at running it?
Well, I mean, they do ban certain things.
They do. Like picks.
Rub routes, picks. Yeah. So
they did ban the pick because of the 49ers. Yeah, I will say that.
So, I mean, yeah, people, victim mentality happens all the time.
Everybody's against us.
I bring up, nobody listens. I bring up Bill Belichick and the formation tricks against Baltimore. They got that out right away. They were like, oh, shit.
But again, people are only paying attention to
Yep.
one team.
Yep. I mean, right away, they said, oh, my God, this guy found a loophole. And they removed it immediately. Happens all the time. All the time.
I'm more impressed people find the loophole.
Exactly. Billy Martin, I tell that story all the time with the Pine Tar game with George Brett. The Yankees should have won that game. You know why? Because Billy Martin was smart enough to know this arcane, stupid rule and pull it out at the exact time that he needed it. And then you say, all right, you know what? You got us, just like Bill Belichick, and then you change it. But they actually, because baseball's backward, they were like, no, that's not the spirit of the game. Screw you. He found the loophole. Bill Belichick found the loophole. The Eagles found the loophole. Now, if you want to remove it. But you can't do it. You can't go back in time. They took advantage of it, and they deserve credit for it.
And don't get upset when they run a quarterback sneak and Jalen gets 15 rushing touchdowns a year.
But yeah, when they started really emphasizing pick plays or rub routes, depending on if you're offense or defense, that didn't have to do with the Eagles. It had to do with San Francisco.
I think where I'm getting annoyed right now with peak off season is, and I went on a tear last week, just decided, you know what? I'm going to rip some people for being stupid. Jalen Hurts isn't good. He had nothing to do with them winning that. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I love how you only put fourth quarter stats and not second half stats. Okay, I'll do that too, since, you want to play that game. Oh, by the way, he had the highest passer rating in the second half of games after the bye week last year. But, and then it was, well, why don't you do the whole game? I'd rather throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. I'm like, okay, congrats. That means your team's probably losing a lot of the game. So,
Well, yeah.
I'm telling you, there are some dumb people out there. There are some really dumb people.
I'm with
You're
you,
not
Jeff.
breaking news there, Jeff.
I'm telling you, I see it. Look, I try to tell people this. I'm a NASCAR fan. Every day they argue about the playoffs. The playoffs that every single driver knows going in, but they complain because their driver can't win it.
Jeff, you're too young to go full Scrooge on me this early. John, I can understand, John. Jeff, you're too young to go full Scrooge on me, Jeff.
The optimist in me thinks there are a lot more smart people than dumb people, and it's clearly
No,
not
you're
the
wrong.
case. Yes.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I am absolutely 100% wrong.
Yeah, I'm being facetious, but yeah, it can get frustrating. But
when you cover a baseball team that's 34-19 and they want to harp on the one loss they've had since May 14th.
Look, I'm just advocating. I'm advocating people enjoy it, spike the football, and stop acting like a victim. You're on top of the hill, man.
But you know why they act like victims? Because that gets retweets and that gets likes and that creates content.
That's true. That's true. Jeff, we appreciate you joining in today, brother. As always, it's always great talking with you. Normally on Mondays. Today it's on Tuesday. Shout out to Memorial Day yesterday. I hope everybody had a peaceful Memorial Day, as we talked about earlier on the show. Jeff, thanks for joining in, brother. We appreciate you as always. Enjoy OTAs this week. All right? Don't get so mad at OTAs.
It's going to be in the rain.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the rain. I ain't going to enjoy that. I might just stay in the media house.
By the way, I'm going to enjoy OTAs. I don't enjoy people making bigger things out of OTAs than should be. That's all.
I just like to write about football. And if I can write about football, it's a good day.
There you go. Jeff, we appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you next week. All right, man.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
There's Jeff Kerr. Follow him at Jeff Kerr CBS. Read all his work at CBS Sports. One of the best in the business. We love talking to Jeff every single week here on Birds 365. Good segment there. Johnny Mac, OTAs kicking off. We'll come back. We'll talk about a couple of things that you wrote about over on SI as we do get ready for OTAs. As much as we just made a joke of them, I do want to talk about them and, prepare the people, see what they want to watch for, see what you're watching for. What do we learn from OTAs, if anything? So we'll talk about some of those things coming up next here on Birds 365. We appreciate all of you guys. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll hit the super chats before we hit the break now. So let's do the super chats, then we'll come back. Here we go. Chris Turek checks in. What's up, Chris? I don't know if I've ever seen you in here. If you're new, brother, we appreciate it. Chris says, love to hear your thoughts on the Eagles' 53.5 roster spot. Who's Howie going to keep by getting him fake an injury and stashing him on IR? It's actually a good question.
It's
always somebody.
Sure. You know, that's one of the things I don't like about the 90 to 53 and all the liberalized roster rules. Used to be much more of a strategy oriented thing. You know, if you place the guy on IR before the cut to 53, he was done for the season, so you couldn't stash guys. Now you can do it with 2 players, so it's easier. That's kind of depressing, to be honest, because we still have a 53-man roster pool, but it used to be much more strategy oriented, for lack of a better term. But you know, it'll be rookie related. You know, somebody doesn't have a strong camp like Anais Smith last year, they'll come up with the ankle injury. So, you know, it might be if you look at the final 3 picks, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, Antoine Powell-Ryland, if one of those guys doesn't have a strong summer, they're not going to cut him. They're going to come up with some kind of injury, just like they did last year with Anais Smith, would be my guess.
Yeah, it was a thing last year. I remember talking about that, though. I remember we had like Patrick Johnson, you had like Dylan McMahon. There was a couple different names that we were floating around there. So we'll see who it is this year. Chris, thank you for the super chat, brother. Brian Pumper, this was way earlier, after when you completely cremated him. He says, the only thing J-Mac destroys is a tray of lasagna. Seems like you won, John, because he went personal on you.
Yeah. Well, for Brian, I'm going to educate Brian again. That is what is known as an ad hominem attack, which is directed against a person rather than a position, because you have no position because you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Boom.
That's what that is.
Ad hominem attack. Done and dusted. See ya, Pupper. Chris Turk, again, thank you, Chris, for the supers today. He says 4th and inches is different than 4th and 1. The Eagles were 8 for 8 on 4th and 1 while using the push. League average is about 50%. Go Birds.
4th and inches is different than 4th and 1. The Eagles were 8 and 8 on 4th and 1 while using the push. League average.
I guess his point would be that they have an advantage there on 4th and 1 as compared to the rest of the league or rest of the team.
Yeah, and how does that differ from they have an advantage with a traditional quarterback sneak? They have an advantage because of the players, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think people aren't ready to believe that yet, John, because they haven't seen it, you know.
They have seen it.
Yeah,
but they have to go back to 2021.
Yeah,
and
the push has become such a big thing. You know what I mean? Like it's so prevalent in the mind for 4th and 1.
Well, yeah, but I'm not. Yes, I know what people feel. What the reality is that this team has been very good with quarterback sneaks long before they came up with the tush push. And again, Jalen Hurts in 2021, you don't even have, I'm not even going back to Carson Wentz when they were perfect. When Jalen Hurts in 2021, before they used it, he has a higher percentage of converting with a traditional quarterback sneak than he does with the tush push. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. You know, part of the thing is, and I bring it up with Josh Allen all the time, it's interesting because when the tush push lived because of Jeffrey Lurie and, you know, fooling the NFL, and making it about something it wasn't. Tampa Bay put something on their social media, and it was basically like, hey, look at us. We stopped the tush push. And it was all of a sudden inundated, because if you remember that particular play, I think it was Vita Vea, face masked Jalen Hurts and pulled him back.
Yeah, right.
And they didn't call it. And every Eagles fan was in the mentions. Oh, well, if you didn't face mask, it wouldn't, which is correct, by the way. However, because you're so mucked up, they missed it. So it's a failure. Similar people say, Eagles fans will say, well, Josh Allen didn't succeed in the biggest moment. He did succeed. They blew the call. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
So when you're that entrenched and everybody's involved, things like that will happen. Landon Dickerson a couple times last year, lined up off sides, couple false starts. It bailed.
Right.
Because everybody was hyper-focused. I advocated last year, long before anybody brought this up. Hey, you know what? You should go back. You should spread them out. Go back to the old way. 5 guys wide. Just let Jalen Hurts pick a bubble. And you're right back to converting at a ridiculous level. People just want to be right, man. They just want to be right. At the end of the day, though, don't listen to me. Listen to Jordan Mailata. Listen to A.J. Brown. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the signature play of the Philadelphia Eagles. They ran it 38 fucking times. They are great because they have great players.
How much did they run the sneak in 21?
Oh, I wish we had Jeff. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
That's all right. You don't have to pull it. I'm going to get through these super chats. Jody Johnson checking in. What's up, Jody Johnson? He says
not as much, though. Not as much.
Not as much. So we'll see. I do think you guys are right, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. Jody Johnson says, John, be prepared for the seamless transition. Laughing faces.
Everywhere. Kaylee Ringo for Slay.
Yeah.
Azeez Ojulari for Josh Sweat. Drew Makuba for CJ. I guess Jeremiah Trotter Jr. early for Nakobe. Who else? Seamless. Hey, you never know. You never know. But I wouldn't bet on it.
This is a funny super chat. Big B sends $2 and he says, I like John, but he is annoying, man. Jesus.
Hey, man.
I don't know what the point of taking $2 for that is, but I'll take it.
Well, I thank you for the $2. Look, I'm not going to validate people. If you say something, if that's annoying to you, so be it. Whatever.
Prince Swayze checking in. Prince says, roasting J-Mac is a full-time job. You got to pull up the Webster's dictionary, a thesaurus, and a translator just to keep up with whatever SAT words he throws at you mid-roast. Pumper one.
Yeah, well, you're not going to win.
I don't know if I have a pumper W there, Prince.
You're not going to win because I'm not going to dumb it down. One thing I don't do is dumb it down. The LCD stuff is for others. That's the least common denominator. You can find that anywhere. I'm trying to elevate. Not trying to dumb it down.
John, I will say the people that listen have definitely learned how to debate more from you. I know I have. I think other people have too. I like to believe that they have because we've got a lot of smart listeners out there. We appreciate all the super chats today. Jody, Pat, Swayze, Big B, Chris Turk, Brian Pumper, and JD3. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have 20 minutes left in the show to discuss some OTAs. I think there is one good part about OTAs. I think I can guarantee that this is a good part, but maybe John will tell me it's not. So we'll see. We'll do all that coming up next here on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, we got this.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Our first show of the week, and it's Tuesday already, so we'll have 4 shows this week. I hope everybody had a peaceful Memorial Day yesterday, and got a chance to spend some time with your family, your loved ones, or yourself, whatever it might be that you wanted to do. Hopefully you had a little bit of chance to do that yourself. For those who worked yesterday, we appreciate the work you guys did. Thank you for all being here this morning on Birds 365. Johnny Mac, OTAs kicking off this week. Just reset the stage for the people who weren't here at the start of the show. Eagles are out on the field today, tomorrow, and Friday, and you're tentatively scheduled to have media availability tomorrow, right? So just set the stage for what to expect this week from the Birds.
Yeah, phase 3 of OTAs, which is on-field work, begins today, as Zander said, Wednesday and Friday this week. So you get 3 a week. The Eagles will have 3 next week, and that'll be it for them. They're not going to utilize their full allotment, and mini camps on June 10th, I believe, mandatory. It is voluntary, so understand that the Eagles are going to have tremendous attendance, but there will be days where guys step in, step out. Fletcher Cox used to say would stick his head in. You know, if some of the veterans have something to do in their personal life,
Right.
they get, they'll pop in, they'll pop out. We'll only be in there for 2 days, one this week, one next week. Probably tomorrow. Only reason I say probably is because of the rain. It's scheduled to rain. I think it's scheduled to rain on Friday as well. Today would be the first day, but the Eagles don't like to have us down on the first day. Want to prepare the players and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, on-field work. So first opportunity for the rookies to get together with the veterans. First opportunity to see how they're going to start the depth chart, where guys are going to line up. So there's some important aspects to it, but I wouldn't get too overworked by, some of the hot takes you'll see.
Yeah.
It's all I'm saying. So
Yeah, I think at the least, though, we will see, like you just mentioned, who will line up at corner at safety, at linebacker 2, at right guard, some of those positions where we're not sure. Now, maybe if not everybody's there, you're not going to get a good read on who would go out first anyway, but that's something to watch for, right?
Yeah. But the guys who aren't there, and if they're going to be like Lane if he's got something to do.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So
if you're Andrew Makuba, you can't miss voluntary
right.
OTAs.
So when you say voluntary and everything is voluntary by CBA, it's not really voluntary for down the roster players. It technically is, but if you're not there, you're not doing yourself any favors. So it tends to take care of itself, that voluntary aspect, with lesser players. So obviously if Landon Dickerson is taking the day off and somebody else is starting a left guard, Landon Dickerson's starting. So you get my point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff there. I am interested at that safeties position there, John, with Makuba coming in. If I had to make you pick safety or corner, where's the bigger concern lie for you coming into the season for this defense?
Safety, because at least they have Adoree Jackson as an insurance policy at corner, who's a veteran player and knows how to play. I don't think it would be good, but he can hold down the forts at corner. Safety, it's two unproven players basically, Drew Makuba and Sidney Brown. I expect Sidney to get the first reps because he's been here, but there's no insurance policy, and who knows? That's one of those things where I talk about it every year. I've been covering this league. Everybody's hyper excited about their rookies. And generally when they get to see some of them and they go, oh, you know what? This guy's probably not ready to help right away. Then you see that next phase of free agency where the Justin Simmons of the world maybe come in before training camp. So if it becomes clear early, and Vic usually makes these decisions pretty quickly, he knows when guys are ready or not ready. If he makes the determination that neither Drew Makuba or Sidney Brown are ready, hey, maybe Justin Simmons is here.
You think are you leaning toward, you feel like that might happen, or you think that's still far? You think that's far fetched?
I don't think it's far fetched, but I also think the Eagles hope it doesn't happen. But I don't think it's far fetched at all. Big thing.
Is it big name trap, or is it valuable?
Well, if they can't play, it's valuable. If it's a big name trap, it's not valuable. I think the Eagles.
Well, I'm asking you what you think of that move before they make it.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't either. That's why I asked you. I wouldn't. I'm not like over the top about going that route.
I wouldn't do it, but I got the Schwartz mentality of startup cost. I understand there's going to be some startup cost, and some struggles, and maybe by the second half of the season, they start playing well and they start playing their best football at the right time. I would not sign. I generally don't like bringing in older descending veterans. By and large, I don't.
Is there another safety out there that you would consider? Because I do like the reason you said safety is a bigger concern is because they don't have a guy. You don't feel about Sidney Brown like you do about Adoree Jackson. That makes complete sense. Should they look for an Adoree Jackson like safety? There's probably not any left, honestly.
Yeah, I'd have to look at who's available, but I think Blackman's still available. But there's a reason why. I think because of Big's history with Simmons, if that's the way they're going to go, but veteran player, I think it would be Simmons specifically at that position. But yeah, I don't. The Eagles. Howie's kind of going back and forth between, where the Super Bowl window is open versus, hey, we got to get younger, we got to get less expensive.
Right.
And it's, it's difficult to do at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about right guard, John? What do you think you're going to, I do think right guard will be a good one to see kind of who at least Stout prefers. The other thing that could happen is he could just put him on a revolving door and you could see all 8 of them rotate through, which wouldn't help you at all.
You're definitely not going to see that because to get somebody ready, you're going to have to hone it down.
I just didn't know if you'd be able to see, like, all right, put him out there first. That's the guy we feel like has a good opportunity. Now, it doesn't mean he's set in stone, but I didn't know if you'd be able to take at least that away from it.
No, I'm pretty confident Tyler Steen's going to get the first opportunity, and probably Kenyon Green is going to be number 2 would be my guess, and then Matt Pryor's probably the contingency because he can do it at least an acceptable level. By the way, Julian Blackman is a free agent, so there's a guy who might fit. But anyway, that's safety. I digress. I think it'll be between Steen and Kenyon Green, and if they both, what the bad, I think Matt Pryor's your contingency, and I think that's a good one because
I'm taking the Matt Pryor odds. All right, I don't know what they are. It might be plus 250, plus 300, but I'm taking those, John.
Well, I think you can let them compete and let them fall on their faces. And even if it's like a week before the regular season, you can just put Matt Pryor in there and he'll hold down the fort.
Yeah. I can see that unless they wanted a more long-term answer. But I mean, they have 4 offensive linemen signed under contract through 27, 28, and 29. Like, do you think they want to find a right guard that's here to stay that's not a rookie? I don't know if they would, right? I mean, then you're going to have to pay him. They're probably not going to want to pay him. Maybe they would. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, that's why.
Mekhi Becton, he was $7 million.
It would be nice if Trevor Keegan could step up, in his second year, and then you have 2 more cost-effective years on top of it. But, it's hard to project him at this stage. Barely played last season.
Really didn't see him at all. I mean, basically just a projection in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, he played a little bit in week 18, but even that he didn't start. He came in as a reserve. So kind of hard to make that leap with so many bodies. And then there's Williams and Hinton. So I think everybody says Williams and Hinton or Hinton and Williams since Hinton got picked first. Well, they're tackles. Well, the Eagles they played Mekhi Becton at right guard. It's bigger than those guys. But everybody still defaults they're too big. Why? You just saw Mekhi Becton.
Right. Is Drew Kendall a sleeper?
Yeah, I mean, we have to see. He hasn't played guard since high school, so
it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, from high school to the NFL that's a big jump at guard.
But I mean, he's going to be here because I think he's going to be a starting center in this league. Probably not here, but eventually when he leaves. So I think he's an NFL player, definitely.
Good stuff there. A couple more super chats, John. We'll get to them. We'll get your closing thoughts here on Birds 365. Look at this. Turn Up O checking in. He says, "What's up, Bird Gang? How do I become the official music provider for JAKIB Sports? I have a ton of beats from every genre. Let's go. Go Birds." Turn Up O, I responded to you in the chat. If you want to email me, brother, I will happily listen to it. I'd love to get one of our supporters to drop us some music. That would be pretty cool. So Turn Up O, if you want to email me, brother, it's Zander@jakibmedia.com. JAKIB media.com. You can email me there. Zander is Zander. So hit me up with an email, brother. I'll get back to you. D Hughes drops a super chat here. He says, "J-Mac appreciation post. Keep spreading truth, almighty ball knower." That's a good compliment, almighty ball knower.
I appreciate it. A pumper will take that.
Do you consider yourself an almighty ball knower, John? I think you do.
No, I don't. I consider, and that's one of the things I think there's a lot of people that consider themselves. I just lean on the people I talk to. I lean on the coaches and the executive and the scouts I talk to, and they teach me about the game. I'm not here like people a couple weeks ago said, could you put together an offensive game plan? Fuck no. No. Could I call plays off the chart that they made? Yes. Yes.
You know
Which
enough
is why
I got you.
which is why I often point out that play calling is so overrated, because that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is coming up with a game plan. And the even more difficult part than that is teaching it, teaching the players what they have to do. The teaching aspect is the most important part of all. And that's where guys like Vic Fangio and Jeff Stoutland specifically set themselves apart, because they teach it. How many people have copied Big Scheme, yet they don't have big success? What's the difference? Right. Anybody can go online now with the advent of the internet and Google and everything, and you could find dozens of playbooks from great coaches and just copy everything they do. Everybody steals everything in the NFL. Copy everything they do. Can you teach it? That's the hard part.
Yeah, and that's much harder to do, no doubt about it. Good stuff there, Hughes. We appreciate the super chat, brother. Last super chat of the day, unless we get another one in the last 5 minutes. Brian Pumper, we appreciate the support. He says, cut the crap, J-Mac. Howie was pressing them other bum-ass front offices. This witch hunt is a reward from smoking Goodell's Chiefs. Look at his game attendance.
Boy, man.
Pumper saying that Roger Goodell is a certified Chief lover. You might be right.
Yeah, I think Roger's from New York. Yeah, I'm sure he loves the Chiefs. I don't know. Go be a victim somewhere else. Go be a victim, Brian. I don't know what to tell you. Go be a victim.
You think Brian's a victim?
Oh, yeah. The whole world's against his favorite team. Oh, yeah. The whole world. Roger Goodell's against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Why does he keep hiring ex-Eagles? Why is NFL Films filled with Eagles fans from Mount Laurel? I don't know.
Well, that's
he
where
loves the Chiefs. Loves the Chiefs. He's from New York. Roger Goodell. You'd be better off saying the Jets or the Giants.
Yeah, or he's an NFC East hater because he's a Giant fan, but might work better.
Which, well, he should hate. He should be self-loathing if he's a Giants fan. But I mean, if you're going to be a victim, at least do some research on your claims, I would argue.
Hate to see it, Pumper there. All right, we got 4 minutes left on the show as OTA is set to kick off. What time are they doing them today or no? They are, right?
Yeah, they're on the field today. I have no idea what time, but they'll be.
No, yeah, they don't tell you anything.
No, it'll be this afternoon. But you'll see it. I don't know how much they'll put up on social media, but I'm sure they'll put up some stuff at their official X site and at eagles.com. State-run media for today. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be out there.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. John, your final thoughts here on this Tuesday edition, brother. It felt a little weird missing on a Monday show. We're live on Tuesday. I originally set the link up this morning, and I made it Monday, May 27th. And I'm like, oh, shit, it's not Monday. So
yeah, I got to
we'll have a shorter week. Yeah,
we're walking outside
to short weeks here.
To put the trash out, backed up a day, and saw my neighbor out there, and I said, how you doing? He said, Monday. I'm like, it's Tuesday, buddy.
So you caught him. Did you tell him, or did you just let him?
No, I told him. I said,
yeah,
it's Tuesday. Yeah, but it felt like a Monday. Feels like a Monday.
It's Tuesday, neighbor Jim. All right, it's Tuesday. All right, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Appreciate you doing it today, brother. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. We'll see if you head down there tomorrow. We're looking forward to seeing that. And your final thoughts on this Tuesday edition, brother?
Yeah, it's good to get on field. So we're getting closer. As we said, we got 3 this week, 3 next week, mini camp. Then you're really in the abyss, the one true black spot on the NFL calendar where players are left to their own devices. And they got to get better during that time. That's the new age of the NFL. But I think we're 100 days away. I read that somewhere. So we're getting closer.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good. Yeah, it was Jeff Kerr today, 100 days away from the start, from the banner drop. John, great stuff today, brother. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there you go. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, joining us here on Birds 365. The number one Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen. All right, good stuff there. We'll talk to him tomorrow morning on Birds 365 with OTAs kicking off. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a great weekend this weekend from Memorial Day. Did anybody get into anything good? Anything worth sharing in the chat? If you share them, I'll bring them up. But I do have to run. We got electrician on the way. All right, I got to deal with an electrician, so he's on the way over. Should be here by 10:30, so I got to get ready for him. All right, but hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. I liked what I said at the start of the show. So if you missed what I said at the start of the show, I'll say it here. In the first couple of minutes, I said it, but I went to a Memorial Day service yesterday in down in Cape May. It's a beautiful service, really awesome service, what they do. And, they bring a bunch of veterans, a bunch of people who have, obviously suffered the loss of a loved one at service. They bring in, the mayor, they bring in a couple priests come to bless the ceremony. They lower a flag. It's a beautiful thing. We go every year. I was actually alone yesterday when I went. My brother wasn't down here, obviously, because of his new daughter. But, and the one speaker said something to me, said something to the crowd, and it really resonated with me. He just said, it's not a happy Memorial Day. Remember what Memorial Day means. Remember what it really stands for, and try not to use happy. I know you might be in the habit, and it's not a negative. I'm not indicting anybody for saying it like that, but try and say a peaceful Memorial Day, because that makes a lot more sense, right? I mean, people lost their lives so that we could have the country that we live in. So that's really what it's all about. But I did want to say that. I said that at the start of the show, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was worth sharing here on the show. So I hope everybody had a very peaceful Memorial Day. I know a couple of you guys were talking about the grilling up last week. I see Killer Tomato said, smoked the brisket for 16 hours. It was fantastic. That's good work by you, Killer Tomato. So well done there. Appreciate all of you guys being here. I think I missed the super chat. Dank, I apologize for missing your super chat with John. Goodell grew up a Washington fan. Just saying. Well, that might have went to John's point as well, though, right? Not a Chiefs fan, a NFC East fan, though. That's not the Eagles. All right, maybe. Michael says, good show. Thank you, brother. Michael, appreciate you being here. SMD Eagles is in here. Rehoboth this weekend. Outer Banks next weekend. I cannot wait. SMD Eagles, you're cooking. You're cooking. Rehoboth this weekend. Outer Banks next. I love it. I hope you have a great 2 weekends. I hope the weather is great for you too, SMD Eagles. Appreciate you being here. Dank Bergang says he hates the Eagles. Who, Goodell? Maybe he does. W Show, Big Z. Flex, thank you, brother. So Flexen introduced a new word to me yesterday, a new slogan, I guess you could say, that I will be using on the show when appropriate, when called for by people like Steve Ike. All right, yeah, I'm just kidding, Steve Ike. You're in my crosshairs, though. I don't know why. All right. Dizzy dummies. Dizzy dummies. All right, so when we got a lot of dizzy dummies in the chat, I will be using that, and you can refer to Flexen, who gave me that. All right, so I'm going to call you guys that. Like this morning, we had some dizzy dummies. Prince was in the dizzy dummy category. Pumper was in the dizzy dummy category. Abe, sometimes, rarely, but sometimes you fall in that category. Bird Gang Girl, you might be in that category. Brandon Howard, certainly in that category every once in a while. Philly Don, good to see you, brother. You're not a dizzy dummy. Appreciate all of you guys for being here, but I do got to run. I got the electrician coming. I just wanted to catch up. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend, and at least had some time with their families or their loved ones, or maybe yourself, whoever it was you wanted to spend time with. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. Hit the like button. We did get a lot of viewers today on the show. We had over 1,000 watching on all the platforms combined. So pretty good on a Tuesday after Memorial Day. There's my brother, Kyle Kokorski, checks in. Xander, what up? Kyle, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. I'm sure I'll see you over on the National Football Show later this afternoon with the great Big Sills. I can't wait to to talk to Big Sills. You know, it's been a couple of days. I'm used to hearing Sills in my ear constantly. So we had a day off. Now I'll go back into the Thunderdome today at 3:30, I would presume, on the National Football Show. So I'm looking forward to that. Make sure you guys check in. Fly Eagles Fly, good to see you. Abe, don't go down that road, brother. All right? I said rarely for you. Abe, don't go down that road, Abe. Come on, man. Come on, Abe. He's saying I'm the king of the dizzy dummies. All right. I appreciate all of you guys. Hit the like button. I'll have some videos posted up on the channel today. I know the channel's been pretty dry for the last couple of days. I was off, out and about. I had a bunch of stuff going on this weekend down the shore between my brother, between all that crap. So a lot of stuff going on. I appreciate it. See you next time, everybody. Hit the like button, by the way, on your way out. Thanks.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.